This is Josh from Cody Co Farm and Nursery, and today we're talking about sweet potato, and specifically we're talking about this particular variety of sweet potato called Tainung 64. So the story of this is that for years I had grown sweet potato and just kind of whatever type I could get my hands on, stuff from the store, from other gardeners. And we just had a lot of hit and miss success. Sometimes you would get big yields, and then other times there would be tons of vines, but then you would dig it up and there would be very little roots to eat. And just trying variety after variety and always having that kind of mixed success, that I decided to do a trial of different sweet potato varieties. So when I worked at the Heart Village maybe 4 years ago, I got together as many varieties as I could. And so for that first year, our trial included 20 varieties. And it was really interesting when we started to dig up the row. I'll never forget that day because it was starting to look discouraging. We were like 10 or more varieties in, and none of them had been that impressive. And then we hit the Tainung 64 plants. And at 120 days is when we dug the trial up. There were these big potatoes like this under that plant. And then we kept going down the rest of the row, and relatively marginal yields. And in that year, the Tainung outproduced everything by double, and some of the varieties in the trial produced nothing. So then I did a trial a second year, and I included the Tainung as a control and maybe 15 more varieties. And again, the Tainung outperformed everything by double, by triple, and again, some of them yielding nothing. So I learned a lot from that trial. One is the huge genetic variability in sweet potato. It's not that those other varieties are bad, it's that they're probably better suited to other growing conditions in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. But since then, we started scaling up and growing lots of this Tainung 64 sweet potato and giving it away and selling it to lots of other gardeners. And the feedback we're getting from people throughout Florida is that they're having the same experience, which is that this is a very productive, reliable producer of sweet potato in Florida. Basically, if you plant it and you have vines, you can count on that there's going to be decent production. I'm even finding now plants around that were struggling that I dig up. I'm always surprised the amount of storage roots that are even under those. So it's highly productive for us under diverse conditions. This patch here was even in some shade, and we're still, this is left in the ground way too long, but just to see what this variety is capable of, you can get these huge roots. This was in shade. It's out in more dry conditions, it's doing well. Raised beds, it's doing well pretty much everywhere. And it's amazing, you can plant it right under your fruit trees, and while you're waiting for those to mature. So there's a guava tree right there, and just 18 inches away from the base of the guava tree, we're pulling out this food in the short term. So that trial was a lot of work, and now we're proud to present the Tainung 64 sweet potato for other gardeners to try. And I'm really pleased with the feedback we've been getting. Other people are having really good success with this. Another great trait of this variety is that it can be grown and productive throughout most of the year. We've grown it during the summer with good production when the days are long, and in the spring when the day length is increasing, and also in the fall as the day length is decreasing. So it doesn't seem to particularly care about day length. The stems are very thick. It's a very robust vine. Most of the tubers, or the roots, are produced where the cutting is planted, but what we found is you can get in and harvest those and leave the plant intact and then let the vine continue to sprawl, and everywhere it touches you'll get more sweet potatoes. So some of our patches we let go for 9 months, and we were slowly just taking, and they produce more and more. Hard to beat this as a food crop, given that you get the roots and the leafy greens as another edible product from the plant. So we ship these slips for planting this in your garden. We pull cuttings only from healthy looking parts of the plant. We inspect them for pests. We spray them off with water so they're nice and clean. And we ship these in a bundle. So a little history of this: it was developed in Taiwan sometime in like the 1930s or 40s by a breeding program by the Taiwanese government. And for some reason doesn't seem to be very popular in the US or known. It's not really in seed catalogs and stuff. But for us, it's been awesome. And it makes sense because Taiwan's at a similar latitude, and there are some other crops where some of the best varieties originate in Taiwan. Like some of our best papaya varieties are from Taiwan. So we're thankful to the breeders in Taiwan for developing this. And we're not saying that this is the best sweet potato for Florida, period. But for us, so far, it's been the best of all the ones we've tried. So we'll be anxious to hear feedback from other growers about how this does in your garden. And we hope you'll buy some cuttings and give this a shot in your own garden. So thanks for watching.